1942. World War II, the Gestapo had a list of their most wanted enemies, generals, commanders, resistance leaders, and one name that didn't fit the others, a woman, an American, operating alone deep inside Nazi-occupied France. They called her the Limping Lady. Her name was Virginia Hall, and she was the most dangerous spy the Nazis had ever tried to catch. Virginia Hall grew up in Baltimore, spoke French, German, and Italian fluently, and had one goal: join the US diplomatic service. In 1933, during a hunting trip in Turkey, her shotgun discharged accidentally. Her left leg was so badly injured, it had to be amputated below the knee. She spent months learning to walk again on a heavy wooden prosthetic. She named it Cuthbert. When she recovered, she applied to the US Foreign Service. She was rejected. The reason given was her disability. She applied again, rejected again. The diplomatic career she had spent her life building was closed to her, not because of her abilities, but because of her leg. When war broke out in Europe in 1939, Virginia Hall saw a different door open. She took it. She arrived in Nazi-occupied France in 1941, recruited by the British Special Operations Executive, a secret agency created specifically to sabotage the German war effort from the inside. Her cover was that of an American journalist working for the New York Post. It gave her a reason to move between cities, ask questions, and talk to strangers without raising immediate suspicion. Underneath that cover, she was building something far more dangerous. Over months, Virginia recruited and organized nearly 90 underground agents across southern France. Some were former soldiers, others were teachers, priests, factory workers, ordinary people who had decided that doing nothing was its own kind of death. She trained them, coordinated their operations, and kept their identities strictly compartmentalized. If one person was caught and tortured, they could only betray what they knew, which was as little as possible. Her network hid downed Allied pilots, moving them through safe houses until they could be extracted. They sabotaged rail lines and supply depots. They transmitted intelligence back to London on targets, troop movements, and German positions. The Germans started noticing a pattern: sabotaged rail lines, escaped prisoners, disrupted supply routes, and every time witnesses described the same figure, a woman who walked with a limp. The Gestapo named her the Limping Lady and launched a dedicated manhunt led by Klaus Barbie, the officer responsible for the torture and execution of hundreds of French resistance members, later convicted of crimes against humanity at trial in 1987. Posters with her description were distributed across the region. Informants were pressured to identify her. Members of her network were arrested and interrogated. By late 1942, her cover was close to broken. Her network had been compromised. Staying in France meant capture. Capture meant death. Her only escape route was on foot, over the Pyrenees mountains, into Spain, in winter, at altitudes above 2,500 meters, through snow and ice, on trails that experienced mountain guides refused to cross in those conditions. Virginia Hall crossed them with a prosthetic leg. The crossing took several days. The temperature dropped well below freezing at night. The wooden prosthetic was not designed for uneven terrain, and every descent on icy rock meant the risk of a fall that could end everything. She moved slowly. She kept moving. Midway through, she managed to send a radio message to London. Cuthbert is giving me trouble. The operator on the other end, who had no idea Cuthbert was her leg, responded with complete seriousness. If Cuthbert is causing problems, eliminate him. She made it across, barely. When she reached Spain, she was arrested by Spanish border authorities and held for 6 weeks before being released through diplomatic intervention. Even that she survived. Most people would have gone home after that. Virginia Hall asked to go back. In 1944, she re-entered France, this time working for the American OSS, the agency that would later become the CIA. The Gestapo was still looking for the limping lady, so Virginia Hall stopped being her. She dyed her hair grey, wore oversized peasant clothing, adopted a shuffling walk, and moved between villages as an elderly milkmaid. She learned to churn butter and tend goats well enough to pass inspection at German checkpoints. It was not a disguise thrown together under pressure. It was a complete second identity, maintained for months. Beneath it, she was running one of the most effective intelligence operations in occupied France. She trained 3 battalions of resistance fighters in the Haute-Loire region. She coordinated safe houses, weapons drops, and communications with Allied command, all while living in a farmhouse under German occupation. When D-Day came in June 1944, her network was ready. Rail lines were cut, bridges destroyed. German reinforcements heading toward Normandy were delayed for critical days, time that cost the Wehrmacht positions they never recovered. After the war, President Truman awarded her the Distinguished Service Cross, one of the highest military honors in the United States. She was the only civilian woman to receive it during World War II. She asked that the ceremony be held in private. No photographs, no press. She didn't want attention. In 1947, she joined the newly formed CIA, becoming the first woman to serve as a full operations officer in the agency's history. She worked in the field for nearly 2 more decades. She retired in 1966. She died in 1982 at the age of 76, quietly, at home. For decades, her full story remained classified. The woman the Gestapo hunted across an entire country spent the rest of her life in deliberate obscurity, because that was how she had always worked. In the shadows, without a name on the wall. The limping lady had nothing left to prove.